Hello and welcome back to the Bring Your Big Energy podcast.
Uh,
When this video portion comes out, y'all will see that I'm sporting my Indiana Hoosiers today because what about that championship title? So today I have the Beverly Cornell on the show. Say hi, Bev.
Hello.
Beverly and I, it's weird because we're only 21, but I did the math that today we've known each other 30. Like, officially, I think it's been 30 years this year. So get your hearts ready for today's show because we're old besties who, even though we don't talk every day, we definitely, so much of our work aligns. We were actually just talking about how much our work aligns and so much of our big energy aligns. So, all right. So I'm going to do a little bit at the top of the show. Beverly, I always like to, fangirl my people. So I'm going to do a little bit about you and then we're going to jump in. Does that sound like a deal?
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Right. So, Beverly Cornell is the founder of Wickedly Branded. She's
Mm.
also a podcaster. I've had the joy of being on her pod, which was so much fun. She is an author. We'll talk about that. And she's the creator of something called the Brand Magic Method. So Beverly works with women-led service businesses. So folks like myself, coaches, consultants, creative folks who are super smart, super capable, and doing all the right things, yet they still feel disconnected from their brand. They're overthinking their message or they're exhausted by visibility and marketing. So, what I love about Beverly's work is that it's not about pushing harder and harder and chasing all the trends. It's really about alignment. So, we'll talk a lot about that today. And it's really about reconnecting with the heart of the work that you do, trusting your voice, and expressing what you do in a way that feels grounded, sustainable, and magnetic to your people. So, at the core of her message, is this idea of growth doesn't come from doing more or being everywhere. It comes from alignment. And when your brand reflects who you truly are and how you serve, everything starts to really feel steady and natural and easier. So, this conversation is about slowing down,
Mm.
simplifying, and remembering that you don't need permission to build a business that feels good. But sometimes you do need an invitation to come back to yourself. Beverly, I'm so glad you're here. Did I miss anything?
My gosh, you need to come work for me. That was perfect. It sounds so nice coming from you, though. Like, it's very beautiful. I love it. It's really good, important work. So I'm excited.
It really is. And you are changing lives, which is the most important part. And I told you at the top of the hour, I'm like, she's such a badass. She just is. Okay, folks, that's what I didn't say. And we can swear on the pod here today. So, Beverly, you help women-led service businesses reconnect to the heart of their work. Like I said, how did you come to this work? Was there sort of an intensity point that brought you here to this work?
So there wasn't like a very clear moment. There was a few different moments that happened where I really started to understand that I had drifted away from my purpose, that I spent all these years helping people tell their stories. They were creatives, consultants, and coaches. They were building their brands, they were growing their business. And I was successful by all measures, I think, by society. My business was growing, I had referrals, my clients were happy, all those things. But from the inside, my business did not feel like it fit me anymore. It felt performative, like I was putting on a show because that's what like Instagram said we should do. That's what I call it the should suitcase. There's a lot of shoulds that we do as women that how we have to show up. Like I had to have the perfect makeup and the perfect hair and had to have my hair blown out because my curly hair isn't professional enough and all these different things. And I knew that what I had was working, but it didn't work for me now. And now I was a wife. Now I was a mom. Now I was going through menopause. Now I had all these things happening in my life and I wasn't this corporate girly girl anymore. And that I needed to kind of adjust my business for who I actually was. So I often joke that I was the cobbler's kids with no shoes because when you do marketing for other people, the last thing you want to do is do marketing for yourself because like by the end of the day, you're like done with it, all of it. And so I decided one day, my husband and I were talking, and he's like, I don't know why you're not putting up the best website. Like, you can do this. And I was like, because I feel like if I do it, I have to not only be the cobbler with shoes, I have to have freaking Louis Vuittons. Like, it
Yes.
has to be like the best of the best.
Mhm.
And so, again, a little performative because I felt like I had to do something that was like this echelon of success by other people's markers. And what I really wanted was a pair of iridescent, comfortable ballet flats. That's what I really wanted.
It feels
So
like time for you.
I was like, I want something that's comfy and supportive and something that I could actually live in, but had a little sass and little sparkle. So I had to like really look at if I don't want Louis Vuittons and I want these really cool, sassy, sparkly shoes that are like flats and like super comfortable, what does it take to get there? So, what should I be doing? What actually feels real to me, feels true to me, to how I show up? And once I started doing that, it's like serendipity, opportunity, luck, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, started to shift and open. And that question became really the foundation of the work I do today and the work I do with all of our clients is really how to get to. I believe that branding is identity work for women specifically. Women often, like I think it's 75%, don't quote me on that statistic, but 75% are more likely to choose relational type of work, work that has meaning and impact, work that helps transform people. And we want our work to matter. We want our work to save the world. We want work that actually creates a ripple effect in the world. And so when you want work to do that, and you're giving and pouring yourself into this work, it's different than how work has been done since the post-industrial era. When men went to work every day and had wives at home that handled all of the things. I joke all the time, Stacey, I need a wife. And what I was experiencing was this real disconnect of like, my husband's deployed,
Mhm.
I'm at home, I'm struggling with a hip injury. I'm going through this adoption process through foster care. I'm doing all the things for everyone else. I'm nurturing people. I'm taking care of my clients. I'm taking care of my child who has ADHD. I'm taking care of myself. Not at all, to be
Right.
honest. And
Bottom of
then,
the always.
bottom of the list, I'm doing all of these things. I'm very relational. Men are very linear. They go to work 9 to 5. They don't care as much. I'm not saying this for every man, but they don't care as much if somebody is upset with them. They don't care as much if somebody's having a hard day. They're like, oh, I hope things get better. And then they move along. That's just not how they work. Where we start to like stack and stack and stack and stack. Cognitive load is very real for women. And we need to understand how we function in our work because that's how we show up to the world. And if we're masking and we're performing and we're doing all these things, there's a word, and it's way overused, Stacey, but I'm gonna say it. Authenticity is
Mhm.
impossible to find buried under all those shoulds, buried under the societal pressures of how we show up as women. And when you do branding that comes from tactics and trends and not from identity, it never will ever feel authentic, and you'll never feel comfortable or courageous enough to truly be visible and to make the massive impact you wanna make in the world.
It's so true. So what shifted for you then? How does your work look different now? And it sounds like you're kind of you have this like modeling or this like leading from the front to show people that if you give yourself permission, they can give themselves permission. And so what changed for you and how does it look different now?
Well, I remember one time I was giving advice to a guy, of all things, on podcasting, actually. He should do a podcast, and he was afraid to show up, because he wanted to be perfect. And what was happening was I had this out-of-body experience of, like, that's me. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted it to be, the best podcast. I wanted it to be and I was afraid to start doing those things because I wasn't going to be perfect. And what if somebody laughed? Or what if, God forbid, you go and look at my first episode of my podcast and you see how I've evolved. I wrote a book because I gave myself this it was a series of things, Stacey. I can't tell you one specific thing, but it was like I just started getting out of my own way. I said, okay, I'm going to do this one thing today. I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this today. And I started taking some time. I actually had lost a couple clients that I never should probably have even taken on because they were not the great clients that I needed. I've learned along the way that you cannot carry people across the finish line. They have to do some work for themselves. And I had given myself these like little goalposts of me, write a book in 7 days, get over yourself.
7 days. That is legendary.
You wanna do this, you've been talking about this, why are you not doing it? So I did it, and I did it with the help of AI because it was kind of a new thing. It was not perfect, far from perfect. However, it taught me I can do it.
Mhm.
It taught me that it's possible. And once some of those possibilities kind of opened up and I got over myself, I was willing to take some risks that I hadn't been able to take before. And, there is this real thing that I'm a hard worker. You're a hard worker, Stacey, that the work should just speak for itself. I shouldn't have to show up all the time and
Mhm.
tell people about the work and all these things and have to be the face of my company. Can't just my work speak for itself? I do really amazing work. My customers love me. Why can't I just have it show up for my? But if you're not willing to show up in front of your work and talk about why you do what you do, your story, your vision, your passion, your core values, the client transformation that you offer, why would your clients do that for you? Like,
Mhm.
you have to be kind of the model for some of that. And even for my team needs to see me out there, I feel like,
Mhm.
talking about the business, leading the business. And
Mhm.
I think before I was just the worker. Now I'm much more of a visionary and a leader. And I embody some of that in a different way than I did before.
Mhm.
Not with ease, with total fright, with total like shit moments of like, what the hell am I doing right now? And who am I to be saying this right now? But over time, I have found my voice. I have found my systems. I have found what I know works with 100% certainty, and that I do deserve a place at the table, and that my voice matters in all of this because
Mhm.
I see how women are showing up differently after working with me, and that to me is like the best thing possible that could happen in this work is to see women really being successful. Men have been supported for hundreds of years. Women need to be supported and need these different tools and need permission to show up as themselves. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be flawless. They don't have to be what everybody else says. You can fully show up as yourself. Mistakes, vulnerability, your trauma, all of it that makes us who we are, because there is someone who is waiting for you to show up to help them on their journey.
That's so real. It's so real, and I think it's such a challenge for women to sell themselves. So when I'm coaching people, this comes up for almost everyone I coach hates selling themselves. And I was in sales for what, 30 years, and I don't love selling myself. It's a very uncomfortable thing to do. But what I find with men is they don't have their a hard time selling themselves in terms of all of the mountains of things they've done. They just can't articulate it well. Where
Yeah.
women forget the mountains of things they've done. And so one of the first things I usually do, and I do this a lot with imposter syndrome, is let's start with an evidence-based success
Yeah.
list of all the
Mhm.
badass things you've done.
Yeah,
Because
the
guess
badass
what?
jar. The
Yeah,
badass jar.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, and
yep.
I do this for myself. I actually have to practice what I preach. I go through my entire calendar at the beginning of each year from the following year, and I go through every single accomplishment, and I
Mhm.
think having that data to remind us is so good. So, but when people come to you then, what I know that you've said before that they say, like, "I know what I do,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I can't explain it clearly."
right.
So what is usually happening underneath that confusion?
Well, they're probably what I see is most likely they're in an identity transition. They've evolved, but their language hasn't caught up yet. So they know that they're in this different season or cycle of their life because women move in seasons and cycles. They're trying to describe meaning. Their work is layered and they're using probably words from their earlier chapters in business. On top of that, they're probably carrying the shit suitcase with mounds of advice and all the things they should be doing and all these different voices from their parents, their coworkers or colleagues or people they've worked with, their clients sometimes. My clients created my business initially, not me. So a lot of times we'll say yes to everything, and then all of a sudden now our clients are running our business and not us. The patriarchy is sometimes telling us those things. Religion is sometimes telling us those things. And as we move through, I think we're in our wisdom phase, Stacey, menopause, perimenopause. We're in our wisdom stage. As you move through that and you get more confidence and you have a lot less F's to give about other people,
For real?
you carry a different voice. And there's something really important that's happening in that process. I think really specifically cognitively. When your message isn't really settled and your brain is always working overtime because you're trying to find that message, research around cognitive load and decision fatigue shows that these unclear moments, these unclear environments drain your energy really
Mhm.
fast.
Uh-huh.
And that's why it feels exhausting. It's why you feel like you're burnt out. It's why you feel this mental overload. But it's not a lack of skill. You're freaking brilliant at what you're doing. You
Mhm.
have the passion, you have the purpose, you have the skill set. You're just maybe not caught up to where you have evolved to. So maybe your website, you're embarrassed to send it out because it's like from 3 years ago and you've really become more sophisticated in what you're doing. Or maybe you feel like you said the selling thing and you're not really thinking about serving people versus selling.
I
Maybe
love
there's
that.
a little bit of mindset shift that needs to happen there. So there's some things that just it's like an old version of yourself that you just haven't fully stepped into. And what we do at Wickedly Branded is help you step into it, but also build it with a little room to grow as you evolve because you're gonna still grow. If your branding isn't growing with you, it's not a healthy brand. So it
Mhm.
needs to grow. Just because you created a logo 10 years ago does not mean it's the same logo you should have right now. Just because you created that offer that one time doesn't mean it shouldn't maybe evolve and become something even more powerful as you learn and you have results from people and you know in your heart of hearts and in your intuition what works, but there's a lot of noise. And sometimes you need someone like me to spend some time to pull that golden thread out and really help you get to that message that resonates with you, but also attracts that most profitable, the people that you absolutely love to work with. Those
Yeah, your
people.
value, your most valuable clients. Yes, I think that, and I suffer from this. Like, I got to be on Instagram, I got to be on Facebook. I got now my interns got me on the TikTok. I'm like, okay, look at me, I'm so hip. I'm on TikTok, and LinkedIn is a whole different beast, and I show up differently there. And I think so many women think that, and rightfully so, because the world is so busy, that they respond to feeling stuck or overwhelmed by doing more. They're putting out more content, more platforms, more strategies. So
Yeah.
how do you help them? Because I know that you and your team really talk about simplifying that message. How do you get them off that like overwhelming rat race? Like, what are some of the first things you do and or advice you'd give to my listeners? Some free
Yeah.
advice here on how to think about that massive craziness. Because I think we're all dealing with it. Anyone that owns their own business is completely overwhelmed by this.
Yes. Well, I'm notorious for cleaning my desk when I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I love it.
we are really good at like being productive when it's not really productive because we're so overwhelmed.
Yes.
That is a real coping mechanism. I call it the flying monkeys of distraction. So what I always tell our clients is to simplify, like you said, and I always say pick the platform that you love the most, that you feel like you want to go on and be there, whatever that is. For me, it's LinkedIn. For other people, it could be Instagram. For other people, it could be TikTok, could be Facebook. But for me, it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn has always felt to me the most connected. I do have Facebook and other things. I use a
Mhm.
tool called Metrocool
Okay.
that will post all over for me, have a presence. However, I personally work LinkedIn every day. So I go all in on one platform.
Okay.
And I would say for 90 days, go all in, learn some stuff. What's working, what's not working. Look at what people who have massive followings and really good engagement. AI is amazing. Pull in their posts, put it into AI. I want to write a post like this about this topic and use their formulas. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Use their formulas that they have done. AI is really good at taking those formulas. And if you've got a custom bot, which we also do for our clients, you can really get great content out of it. So I have some people I follow that are amazing at their content, and we really try to use some of their best bits, and then we look and measure and then do more of what we see is working. Now, I don't want to be famous. Like that's not my goal. I don't want thousands of people. Now, if you come and you want to hang out with me, fine, but that is not my goal. My goal is 100 people who need me. If I
Mm,
have 100 people who need me on my email list, my social media following that will buy from me, I have a very successful business, Stacey.
hmm.
So I'm not chasing vanity numbers of thousands of people or going quote unquote viral or that to me is very dangerous and exhausting.
Yes.
My goal is if it's 52 weeks in a year, if I can get 2 to 3 people every single week to follow me or to engage with me in some way that could be a potential client, then I'm doing really good strategic work. This isn't about masses, it's about quality of people that are actually your most favorite clients. I have some really sassy people that I engage with on LinkedIn, and I love them because they're the perfect people to be in my orbit. And
Mhm.
so you can be really strategic about LinkedIn gives you so much information. Go and look them up, look up their website, look at who they are, and just start engaging, chatting, commenting, DMing. Just be you and human. Like if I see something I love on their website, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this about your website. I'm totally me. I'm being honest. I'm not like, oh, I love your web. No, I'm like, this thing on your website is freaking amazing. I am totally fangirling your whatever. Be honest. And you can't tell me that if someone did that to you, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like it wouldn't make you feel good, you know? So
Yeah.
it creates this, you just kind of show up and just be yourself. And, I think it's about the rich relationship versus the superficial collection of numbers of people in your network or numbers of views. Now, obviously, I love when people consume my content, but I really love it when I have a genuine relationship with somebody like you, Stacey, who I've known for 30 years and kept in touch with. That to me means more than some random schmo who I just connected with on Instagram. So go all in, be real, and don't go quality rather than this big, being an influencer or a creator or something that I think that the social media world has kind of given you false sense of what really matters in this. It's not some vanity metric. It's really the connections you have, the real people relationships you have that I believe matter more than anything else.
Which I love, and I love what you said too, that, like, AI can be a very useful tool in the instances like you gave, right, of the formulaic type, right, or
Yeah.
to help you
Yes.
summarize, like, there's nothing better than after one of these
Yes.
shows how I take the note that makes the notes for me in the description, like, I love that, right, and so but there's also this really great human piece because I do agree, I get a lot of AI messages on LinkedIn, very often, and you
Yeah.
can tell, where it's
Yeah.
very different than, "Hey, I do
Yeah.
like do your book, it's pretty cool
Yeah.
or whatever."
Right.
It's
Yeah.
of like, let AI work for you, but not take the wheel and
Right.
consume you, right? And so, especially anything creatively, if it's something really creative, I always start with my own brain first, and then
Yeah.
I'll shoot it through AI to be like, "Can you help me out? Am I saying this the right way, or would this land better?" X, Y, Z. So, okay,
Yeah.
so then I love this. So your first advice is go all in on one thing and be authentic with it. How do you help women then shift from branding that feels more performative to
Mhm.
branding that feels more grounded and true to them?
When we work with our clients, we spend a lot of time with them in the beginning. We do a 90-minute to 2-hour deep dive with them. I kind of call it brand therapy.
Love.
We ask a mountain of questions. We really get into like who you are, what matters, where have you been, where are you now, where do you want to go, what are your challenges, and then we put together your brand magic blueprint from there that gives you the next best 4 to 6 opportunities because momentum is not given in like I don't believe it's not given to you in these big, huge leaps. It's in this next 4 to 6 steps. Keep next 4 to 6 steps going. That's how momentum is built. So it's really just looking, when you're in a car and at night, you can only see how far ahead of you, as far as the headlights can show you. You can have a destination on the GPS, but where are you really focused right now? You're focused on the road ahead of you as far as you can see, and that's really to 6 steps. Again, have a goal where like a general direction you want to move with that, but you really need to focus on those next 4 to 6 steps. Like the next thing, and I know I do this with my GPS. Okay, I'm like, what's coming up next? Oh, get the right lane. Okay, like you have to like kind of prepare yourself in that way. So if you think of your business like that, you want to be able to kind of see what's coming in that way. So if you have the next 4 to 6 steps, I think 4 to 6 is the magic number because we can remember those things. We can stay focused on those things. You have 5 days a week. Even if you only did one every day, you'd be able to give love to one every day. You'd be able to move it forward. There's a book called The Gap in the Gain. I don't know if you've read it. It's very good. It really, really focuses on not the things that you're missing, but how far you've come. Because even if you make a goal and only get to 80%, you're 80% closer to where you were than if you didn't do it at all. So this idea of the gain is more important than the gaps, and just keep making these gains, you'll keep moving forward, keep moving forward. Now, one thing that women are really notorious for doing though, Stacey, is what I call the vanishing finish line, where we make a goal and then we move the goalpost, and then we move the goalpost, and then we move the goalpost. So just make sure that your goals have a container. Really smart goals are good, but I say one more thing. It has to have a finish line. So, for example, if I created a course for my clients, it would be create the draft of the course that is finalized by the end of January. Not create the course and have it up, because then I'm going to be like, it's all these little pieces. Like, try to make it as contained as possible so you know you have arrived and achieved it and can celebrate it, hopefully, a little bit in the process. So that's one thing I think women are really notorious for doing, is that. But I feel like in the brand therapy sessions, what happens is they start off with this like, well, I want to do this. So they're very like a performative, probably, again, I guess I would say, of like they're answering the way that they think I want them to answer. And then I start asking them other questions like, what's been the hardest thing you've had to like overcome? Or what's the thing that you hate about your industry? And then they'll start talking, and they're like, then like it starts like to peel away this facade of someone who feels like they have, and then I get their essence. All of a sudden now they're saying things like, "Ah, I'm not your father's accounting firm. Like, I'm a firm that we have tattoos and we wear earrings and we, and then I get to who they really are. And that is what I call the golden thread. That is a really sassy line. I like that. I think we should lead with something like that. We're not your father's accounting firm. And then we kind of start to build a brand around their words, the way that they show up in the world. And they want to work with roller rinks and tattoo parlors, and like they don't want to be their father's accounting firm, and even how they approach their clients. So these are the most fundamental conversations, and probably the first time women have fully gotten everything running around in their head out with someone who actually cares, listens, and makes space for them. Because I'm sure Eric knows what you do, but he doesn't really know what you do.
True.
My husband's like, "Oh, yeah, she makes websites, or she creates logos." But what I actually do is I carry women in a way that helps them show up with courage, helps them show up with visibility, helps them really change their mindset around things, helps them name some of their struggles, helps them all these different things that my husband would not understand. So for the first time, someone saying, "That's what you do," and really understanding it, and then from there, we help them create messaging, build a website. We actually have a mutual connection. I'm not going to name names, but he came to us. You gave us a referral, which was very kind of you. We went to the brand therapy session and found out that he enjoyed anime growing up. Like, anime was a real big motivation for him. And so part of his brand now has this element of anime and the warrior's journey and some of that stuff with it, because it was so fundamental to who he was as a person, that why wouldn't it be in his brand? It so influenced how he became successful. Why wouldn't we somehow give a nod to that in his work? So there's just things that we can capture that make him more human, that make him more relatable, that create some humanness in a way that, logos can be, I'm going to get on a soapbox. I don't want to get on a soapbox, but essentially logos can be a piece of art, or they can have meaning, and they can be something that actually translates to who you are. And we believe that you start with that and not just a piece of art. So it can be pretty too and have meaning, but it shouldn't just be pretty and sit there on its by itself on a piece of, on a,
I love that, and, I think that coaching is so much like what you're saying, like the brand therapy, and I think that it's the time that people come and we do hold space, which now always makes me think of Wicked, the movie, with all the things with holding space, but anyway, and which is funny, wickedly branded too. Anyway, I digress, but I think it's just so funny because people come to me and I listen so deeply to them, and it's such a gift to be able, an honor to be able to do, and I remember I had a client one time, like, for instance, she was just like, I can't do slides. I can't present well because I can't do slides. And we went on, and I was like, is this really about the slides? And
Mhm.
she just started bawling. Hell no, it wasn't about the slides. It was about her deep insecurities and this and that.
Yeah.
And it ended up being this thing. And she literally was like, "You just changed my life." I'm like, "You changed your life. I just
Yes.
listened and asked you those provocative questions." So the power of listening is so rich. I actually teach an entire class on asking powerful questions and effective listening because only 2% of the population has ever been trained on listening. So much corporate resources go into presenting, right? Which is wonderful too. So, but I do love that, and I love this because that's how big energy also came to be. Is when I was talking with my publisher, I went in there and I was all big energy, and he's like, "Tell me about you," and I go, I'm kind of a hot mess. I said, but everything I do, I come in with big energy, and I can promise you that. And he's like, "That's the name of your book," and I was like, "Okay," and I love it, and it's so organically true to who I am, and so I love this thought of like really listening to someone, really getting their perspectives, understanding their why, their deep purpose for why they do the work, because that is how you build a brand and that's
Uh-huh.
how you make it unique. Because we don't all want to be dad's accounting firm, because how
Here.
boring. No offense to dads and accountants, but I mean, that's boring and no one's
Right.
buying boring. People buy real people, they're buying what you bring. So, okay, so now you work with people and they have these wonderful transformations of their brands. What do you
Mhm.
notice happens when someone finally trusts their own voice instead of looking outside themselves for validation?
Well, just to piggyback what you said really quick is that these moments of vulnerability that happens in these sessions, tears are often part of that, which I never thought that marketing would ever have a place for like people crying on a call. But it's a gift. It is a true gift to listen and reflect and honor who has been in front of you. So the work you're doing is massively important for women and for anybody that you work with. People need to be listened to. Solopreneurship is really lonely. And if nobody's listening to you or helping you, it can become isolating and you kind of get stuck in your head. So, actually being able to pull it out, removing some of that cognitive load, frees up your ability to be creative in other ways and give your energy, your big energy, in other places that matter for your business. So, that is an immense amount of gifts. So, when you see, and I'm going to suppose you probably experience this as well, it starts off a little tentative. Like one of our clients, her name's Angel. We did her brand spark, her brand magic blueprint with her, and she said, "For the first time, I see what's actually possible. Like I've had this dream, but now I see it. It's possible, and it's bigger than I even imagined it would be."
I
And
love that.
having somebody see their vision in an aspirational way that kind of relieves some of that overwhelm in their brain, kind of it's like just gives them this injection of magic for them to continue building. Sometimes we get a little bit. I mean, there was a point, Stacey, where I was over it all. Like I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go back to corporate America. I'm done.
Uh,
Being a business owner is hard. And there was a point where I was like, told my husband, I said, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I care too much. I want too much. I have too much invested in this. Like, maybe I just want to turn it off and be able to go 9 to 5 and not have to worry about it. And someone else can pay the bills. Someone else can worry about all that. I don't want to worry about all that. But it came down to no, I really do care and I can't go back to 9 to 5 and not have this deep passion and meaning. So for people who are kind of maybe feel like, I don't know what's next, maybe I'm over it, I'm overwhelmed, overworked, I don't even know what the next step should be. This blueprint helps them see what's possible and also helps them see that there is a way out of this. So they start to see what's possible. They believe in themselves again. They're really, until you can trust yourself, you can't trust other people. So they
mhm,
start trusting themselves. Like what I've been saying is true. They're
mhm,
validated. And when you're validated, you show up differently in general. Like you just show up differently. And
mhm.
so we create this very collaborative space where we create the messaging and we bring the website to life and all these different things. And when we do that, they feel very empowered to be part of the process. They feel smart. They feel like they have agency. They feel just incredibly vulnerable, but also visible at the same time. Like there's so much that's happening. My husband and I talked about this a long time. She goes, "You do way more than marketing. It's this whole butterfly effect, like coming out of the cocoon and becoming expanding." their energy in ways that you wouldn't even understand. Like, I think My Big Energy, it really talks about some of that. Like, once you shed the things that were not meant for you,
Mhm.
and you go all in on the things that resonate and feel good for you. Now, accounting still doesn't feel good to me, but I hire someone to do that. You are able to sit in your zone of genius, be in your flow, and do the things that make you happy. And when you're happy and you're doing that, that's where your brand magic sits. That's where your joy is. That's when you are you're a magnet. You're like vibrating at a whole different level. It's oozing from your pores, and then the right people are gonna see that and be like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna work with her." I just hired a graphic designer last week, and he was like, "I just need to work with you. Whatever you wanna pay me, I'll work with you." And you want something like that, because
Yes.
when people see you and they want to work, and I've had that happen several times. 3 of my employees have come to me and say, "I just need to work with you. Whatever you want me to do, I wanna work with you."
They're
And
attracted to your energy and your purpose
that
in the work you're doing.
exactly.
I love that.
That magnet happens, and the right people, these are people who've been with me for 3 years. These are people that have been with me for a long time. They're like, "I can't even imagine working for anybody else." Like, these are committed people too. I have clients that have been with me for 14 years. Like, these are people, you create the opportunity for people to find you, and you create the opportunity for people to connect with you, and it creates this, I don't know, beautiful relationship and collaboration for them to really step into their own power for the first time.
I love that. So they come, they're overwhelmed, they come to work with you, you help to give them agency and empower them, and you go through the brand method and magic method, sorry. So then how do you help them to have sustainable visibility? What does that actually look like for folks in real life, especially for women who don't want their businesses to completely consume them? Like you talked about,
Yeah.
we want our flexibility, we want our own agency, we want our own power in owning our own businesses, but we don't want it around the clock. So how do you help them with that sustainable visibility without consuming them?
So what I found, once I found my magic, once I really leaned into who I am, wearing my iridescent ballet flats,
Yes.
everything became easier. So, like, what do I post about tomorrow was, you know what? I just saw my son um at Harry Potter World with his wand, and he was like, some spell, I can't remember, what it was. And there was tons of people around him, and the amount of confidence he had in that moment became then for me a story I could tell on a LinkedIn post about when do we lose our confidence? Because
Mm.
9-year-olds have it in spades. Like, what happens to us to lose our confidence? So, like, all of a sudden you start seeing in your world, when you're super clear on who you are, you start to see in your world where the content opportunities become. But it's also, we have a repurposing content system. We have a really strong content matrix to help people. We have these systems and tools in place to help them to make it as easy as possible. So, for example, the repurposing thing, we always say start with a blog post that is so strong, like really thought leadership, science, the whole thing. Make it really yours. Cross connect links. Maybe have a free download with it. Whatever that is for you. Maybe do a little video to put in there as well. That piece is your strong piece. And then throw that blog post that you have worked so hard on into AI, repurpose it into a newsletter, repurpose it into social media posts, repurpose it into a small video script or a long form video script, repurpose it into a podcast episode. Take that blog post, that thought leadership that you spent all that time on, and now use it every which way till tomorrow. Do not do it and then move on to something else and be distracted by this other thing. Like, take it, pull everything you can out of it. So for me, when I write, those are chapters in my book.
Hmm.
So I'm literally writing concepts. Like, I just wrote a one on the legacy load that women carry, that our moms and our grandmoms worked so hard for us to be able to have the opportunity to own businesses and to build real legacy and wealth for the first time as business owners. Our generation's doing something that their generation could never do. We have this legacy load that we carry with us that causes us to have more perfectionism and imposter syndrome than ever before. And that is part of my book now, because it's all part of the shoulds that we carry. So when you write, I write from a place of, how do I create this thought leadership piece? And then maybe there's 6 bullet points And each of those bullet points could be a newsletter, could be social media posts. Those 6 bullet points could be a carousel. Those 6 bullet points could be an infographic. Those 6 bullet points, like take it and just go all in on that content. And then you create this content vault of your content, your leadership pieces, and you can repurpose them again and again. Keep coming up with new stuff. You can maybe take it from a different angle, add a different hook. You can mess with it a little bit, but it is 100% yours. And then the thing that I think most women and even other business owners, not just women, they don't repeat their stuff enough. Marketing is about what you're known for. And if you're kind of all over the place and you're not being repetitive in what you're known for and your transformation and what you offer and what you do, people are not going to know that. It takes like 11 touch points for people to remember who you are and what you do. And if you're not consistent in how you show up with your brand promise and what you're going to offer and how you show up, if you don't do that, your clients aren't going to understand that. Your potential clients aren't going to understand that. So those are evergreen pieces that you can use next year, next quarter, maybe just change up the image or something. But you don't have to work this hard. I promise you. It is, it's just creating 12 pieces of really good content, really good
Yes.
blog posts. And then those, one for each month, let's say. And then you take those, make 4 newsletters out of it, each one, and then make, 10 social posts out of each one. Make a carousel, make a reel, you can do all kinds of things with that one post. You could have so much content that you want to do with yourself. So
I love that. And I love this idea of repurposing too. I don't think we do that enough. And if you think back to our ad days, reach and frequency. And I think we forget like the frequency is not 1. Frequency is 3 to 5. And so, like you said, you could say it 11 times. And if it's still true to your brand,
yep.
why not? So then what is your advice for folks who don't enjoy the content? Like we are writers, we're authors, it's at our heart. That's not the truth for everyone. So a lot of business owners, well, at least I'll speak for myself, I guess. But a lot of us business owners don't love the content grind. So I've tried personally, I tried to do 15 minutes every day
Yeah.
to do it, but that's not enough time. Then now I block out Wednesdays and I love it because Wednesday
Yes.
is my day. I go to Starbucks and I'm writing and I'm logging and I'm scheduling and it's my favorite day. And even though I love, love, love my clients and I love public speaking and all the fun stuff I get the joy to do, but I really love those days where I get to just use my brain in a way that is creative content. But do you have advice for people who don't enjoy it, how to best get stuff out there without getting in their own way?
So I think, well, obviously you could use an agency like us. We could certainly help you write it and do all those things, but not everyone can afford us, and we understand that. So there's a couple ways that we help our clients. One is when we do the brand magic blueprint for them, it gives them a lot of really good information that can help feed AI, that can help program an AI, which we can do for them as well. That if they need help, AI can help you. Now, for someone who's just not a writer, so I would tell you, Stacey, I did not accept that I was a writer until only the last couple of years.
Well, that's interesting.
When Grammarly said I was writing like 1,000,000 words a week, I was like, maybe I am a writer. Maybe.
At that point, yes, you are.
I was like in denial over it. I never thought I really was a writer, but now I fully embrace that. But the thing is that I think, it doesn't have to be, start small. Maybe it's 3 paragraphs. I am also very intentional about my time. So look at when you are your most creative, whether it's a morning person, an afternoon person, an evening person, whatever that is for you, and be intentional and block off time. So yours is Wednesdays. So like for me, operationally, my operation days are Mondays, but my writing day is Friday. And I actually have therapy Friday mornings, and it like helps me like get in the mode for whatever reason to write about crap. So like the things that I'm struggling with, like the things that I see, the things that I'm contemplating. So you have to do you. Like when are you in that frame of mind? But sometimes, to be honest, I'm like inspired. Like I'll be out. I'm trying to think of a recent, even with Zeke in the wand, I was like, I have to write a blog post. So I made a note about that. And actually, when we were in line for a ride, I literally wrote a blog post about it. So I put notes in and then I refined it later, but I really pretty much wrote the blog post while we were in line in Universal. So I have found that I just use it when I want to or when I intend to. Sometimes on those Fridays I'm not in the mode. It just happens. But
Yeah.
I have a swim spa, so it's like a spa and a swimming pool at the same time. And sometimes when I'm in there, I'm in like my meditative state. I'm like, ooh, I have an idea. And I'll write in there. You have to find when it unlocks for you
Mhm.
what matters. But I think it is kind of a practice. Like maybe it's journaling it starts off with, or maybe it's 10 questions. Like I ask a lot of questions in the session. So it's like, what do you hate about your industry? Talk about it. Why? Like those kinds of questions, those kind of contrarian questions can really get you to some really good content that the world needs to see because you have your opinion about it and you're not just saying what everybody else is saying at that point. You're kind of going against it. So like I'm saying, don't do all the social media. Do just LinkedIn or do just Instagram. I'm kind of going against what everybody says that you should do. But this is really it really is up to you. So when we talk to them, we will say like, when do you feel the most creative? When, and then we have like an outline for them. My Marketing for Entrepreneurs book has like a lot of questions in it. So it's a quick guide to sparking at your marketing. I know you believe in sparks as well, but it has some activations in it. Talk about your why. Talk about when you started. What's been the biggest thing you've had to overcome to be a successful business person? Talk about those things because someone's waiting for you to talk about that. I even say trauma. Like I have moved 28 times in my life. But what has the 28 times taught me? It's taught me to build connection, to build relationships, to show up in places, to be curious. Those are all things that have helped me who I am today. Talk about some of those things. I'm adopted, my mom's adopted, my son's adopted. So, what does it mean to show up in a world where it's not blood? What does it mean for that? That means that anybody could be my family. And so I connect in different ways with people. There's just those things can show. I am a Stevens minister. So I am trained to walk with people who go through grief and depression and maybe they're dying, maybe they've lost someone, maybe they're going through cancer. And so for us, as Stephen ministers, we're taught to just sit and be with them. And that's helped me be better in my brand spark blueprints, my brand magic blueprints. That all those skills inform and those passions inform who I am and how I show up for Wickedly Branded. So I really think you just need to kind of go back to who you are, look at your life. For example, I did not want to become an entrepreneur. I actually went in kicking and screaming, Stacey. This was not something I wanted. I had worked for a startup before I started my business. I knew how much work it was a tech startup. I knew how much work it was going to be. I was like, there's no way. I'm just going to do some freelancing just for myself. I'm not going to build a business. Yeah, that didn't go so well. But my husband's military and he moves every 3 years. We move every 3 years because the military says so. So how do I build my business to be as mobile as his career? So out of necessity, I had to do that. So I think you just have to look at your life and you have to look at your day and you have to be intentional about what you do. Make time for the things that matter. Put them on the calendar. I even tell my clients, you're a solopreneur, you still need to have a marketing meeting with yourself every single month. Put it on the calendar. Spend an hour going through analytics, look at what worked, plan out your content for the month, plan out that one blog post, like give yourself the space because if you don't, it will get pushed aside. It will get pushed aside for the busy work or the cleaning of your desk or whatever it is. You will prioritize what matters. So one thing that was really powerful for me is my drivers and drainers. What are the things that drive my energy? What are the things that drain my energy? And all the things that drain my energy, I've either automated, offloaded, got a vendor, got an assistant, whatever it is to do that. Besides a few little operational things, but for the most part, the things that I love to do, now I get to do. And now that I'm in that, like that's where it starts to like seep out of my pores because I have the time and the space to really give the attention to the content, to give the attention to what I want to do. And it is the writing now. It is the writing, like you said. It's the speaking in front of people. That's the part that matters.
I always tell the leaders, and I coach a lot of C-level, a lot of VP plus, and I always tell them, "You should be doing the work only you can do.
Yeah.
All of that other work should be empowering others to learn those skills."
Yes.
but it does take a while to move from that's one of the biggest gaps I see in people that really wanna be great leaders is they're still doing all the execution of things.
Mhm.
So much you said there too is in line with the bring your big energy
Yeah.
story, which
Yeah.
is going back like the moving so many times have changed you. Being adopted, there's so many pieces of our origin stories, so many intensity points that happen over and over again in different in multiple ways. They're an invitation to transform. They're an invitation to use those tools to live a better, brighter, bigger life, right? I think what happens is people get kicked down and man, it sucks.
Yep.
It does. Take it for a
You
two-time
know.
cancer
You
survivor.
know. Yes.
Sucks. You think it doesn't? It does. But you've got to see how things are for you. And I don't know if it's spiritual or what for most people, but for me, my why is so big. I really feel like I can help people change their lives. I
Yeah.
really think I can. And I get a lot of feedback that I am. And so that's the work that I'm invited and honored to be able to do. And that's why I love the work you do. It's so aligned with the work I do.
Mhm.
Above and beyond the little spark name that we both have in there, but it really is about like getting to the heart of who you are, self-reflecting, purpose-driven, abandoning the crap that you don't need,
Yes.
thinking about what results are, not moving your expectation, not moving the finish line,
Mhm.
and then kinetic energy is like how do you do it in a repeatable pattern with a community?
Yeah.
So I really just love the synergies of that.
Totally. So many women believe that visibility requires them to be this louder, sharper, more polished thing. They spend all this energy you talk about trying to get it right and very little energy on moving forward with whatever they've been given. As hard as it's been, you've had your challenge of cancer. As hard as it's been, I've had the challenges that I've been given. But you have to use the energy you have to move forward. So bring your big energy, are people who are, tired of managing themselves to be palatable. They're done
Mhm.
shrinking, over functioning, performing for the world. They want to reconnect with those inner signals, those self-trust, things and that's all part of what we do. And they feel this quiet, and it may be quiet to loud. Something has to change stirring. Like something is not right here. This is not okay. I am not my best self. I am not showing up the way I'm supposed to. This is not okay. This internal awakening that you're talking about, let's bring my big energy thing, is okay. That's great. But now what my work does and meet your work is okay, now what do I do with this?
Yes.
I found this stuff. I found this inner awakening, which our first stop, the Brand Spark experience, is called the awakening, which I love it.
I love this.
You help them recognize their energy and stop abandoning themselves and reclaim permission to be fully who they are, which is amazing. What we do is we help them translate that into that self-trust, that new self-trust into words. So their
Mm.
messaging, to build a brand that can hold who they've now become with this new energy they have, right? Show up consistently, but not burn out in this energy. Because when you're given energy, it can real quick. Like if you're not feeding it and taking care of it, it can burn out really quick. And to stop creating overwhelm in their business as it relates to marketing. But what's interesting is when you show up, when you do this identity work around your brand, it becomes really easy to say yes and no to business decisions. Because like, does this feed my vision? No. Does this help me further? No. Does this it just really becomes it like lightens the load even on decision fatigue.
It's like a filtering system. I
Absolutely.
I mine as a filtering system.
Yeah. So I actually wrote this sentence down, Stacey, when I was planning for the podcast episode. I said, "You help them come home to themselves. I help them build something that feels like home."
Oh, I love that. Snap that out. Yes. Come to me. I'll coach you up. Go
Yeah.
to Beverly. She's going to help you to put it
Yes.
out into the
Yeah.
world in an
Exactly.
authentic way. I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay. The word that you used, I think, is gold too. You said the word trust. So if there's many women, probably mostly women, but I don't know a lot of guy listeners too, but if there's a woman out there listening today, and she stopped overthinking and trusted herself just 10% more,
Yeah.
what do you think could open up for her?
If you don't trust yourself, you can't trust any other people, and you can't trust the system. Like you can't trust. I actually have a brand magic map. Okay. And there's a thing on there that's called the trust balloon, because when you have trust, you rise. There's like this idea. But when you're in a hot air balloon, like it's just like a little bit of air, a little bit of gas, a little bit of fire brings you up. And it's like, it's very minor. And it's like this little undercurrent thing that women don't spend enough time doing. And it's because society has told us how to show up all the time. From the time we're like 7 years old, we're taught so much as women, you know, to be pretty, to be quiet, to take care of other people, all these different things. And that self-trust is not honored. It's not talked about. Like believe in yourself. It's ourselves in relation to others, not to ourselves. So this idea of trusting ourselves, trusting our voice, trusting the way that I have learned to trust myself is through testimonials. You call it the badassery jar, we can call it whatever you want. But I had started to take the video of the testimonials of the people who work with us. At the end of what we do, we always do everything through Zoom. So at the end, I asked them about the process and they recorded it. And I asked them some questions. I said, can I use it as a testimonial? And they said yes. And my assistant started editing them. And then I started watching them. And I heard through their words the work that we do. And it took me listening to them to really see the impact that we make on them. And now, without a doubt in my head, I know the impact that we make and that the work that we do matters and that I need to show up so that more women can have that effect. And if more women do this, then we'll live in a more soulful world. And I want that for my children. I want that for the world. And so I feel really compelled now, based on that self trust, to make an even greater impact and difference. And so it's almost as if it compounded in a way that is like this inner fire that I can't put it out. I have to like do something with it. It's a motivation that is so deep inside of me. It's unlocked something so extraordinary that I can't lock it back up again.
I love that. I love that, and I think it's so powerful, like you said, for our children to understand that too. I have one daughter, I mean, I say lots of different things to 3 different daughters because I parent them where they're at, and I hope to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
But I have one, I'm always trying to help her to trust herself more, and I always say, "Trust yourself," and she's like, "But mom, what if I mess up?" I'm like, "That's okay. You're showing up. You're showing up. Keep showing up." And if you trust that you can keep showing up,
Yeah.
even when you fail, quote unquote, or you try something that doesn't work perfectly, you just have more data to try something different next time. But you're depending on yourself, not others. And I think that's so powerful. Yeah, because they say that young girls' confidence peaks at like age 9, like of their lifetime. Because it's just, we get stripped down
Yep.
by doing the right thing. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. And so the self trust, I mean, that could be an entire
Totally.
podcast. So
Totally.
so I know that we don't have you forever. So the final question I want to ask you, and then I want to make sure you can tell people where to check you out at. But if there's one thing that you want the listeners to remember from this conversation today, what would that be?
I think for me, women historically have been rewarded for adaptability and caretaking and this emotional attunement we have with other people and blending in rather than standing out. That has been something that we've been rewarded for and has served us well to a certain degree. But leadership for women, I was in leadership as well, before I became a founder, often meant relational safety, not visibility. It was how do I stay safe in this environment? And now we have this opportunity where we're asking women to build all these public facing brands, to monetize their voice, to repeat themselves confidently, to position themselves as an authority without ever unlearning the conditioning that said, be agreeable, be helpful, don't take up too much space. And all those things that create the should suitcase, the vanishing finish line, and I think all that adds up to what I call the tornado of overwhelm when it comes to the business is real for people. And I think naming that and letting them know that this is not their fault. This is not them lacking something, that they have been conditioned as well as men have been conditioned for this. So it's not their fault either. That it's up to us and that we get to decide how we show up and what kind of business that we want to build. I am giving you a permission slip right now to the listener to show up more as yourself. Don't be afraid to be a little bit less perfect. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Don't be afraid to share more of who you are. It's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to be emotional. Men are emotional. It's just they're just emotional as anger. And I feel like our emotions are actually healthier than anger. But that's just my anger is in the boardroom all day long and they're unregulated all day long. It's just that's what's become acceptable. Our emotions are just as acceptable and deserve a place at the table. I want you to just be okay doing the next thing. Whatever that step is, take the step. Maybe it's changing that first, like the headline on your LinkedIn profile or on the be more you. Say the thing that you've been afraid to say out loud for the first time.
I love that. Give it power. Say it out loud. That's what I always say. Just say it out loud. That's
Say
so
it out
good.
loud.
Okay, where can people find you?
So I am Beverly Cornell on all the social sites and at Wickedly Branded on all the social sites. And then our website is wickedlybranded.com. If you like these kinds of tips, sign up for our newsletter because you'll get tons and tons of advice. Plus, you'll get our podcast episodes as well. And my podcast is Marketing Magic in the Messy Middle, and that's on all the podcasting platforms as well.
Beautiful. And I will put all of those in the show notes as well, Beverly. So
Awesome.
thank you so much for a great conversation, for all of your wisdom and all of your big energy. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacey. I loved this. It's so nice.
All right, take care.